Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. All right, realistic height for XRP. This coming from Block Bull here on Twitter. For those that believe in the super cycle, do you guys believe in the super cycle? Parallel channel gives you greater targets to obtain. So what he is suggesting is that we could actually 20x from here in a super cycle if indeed we do see a super cycle. So we did see, XRP price rally throughout 2020, hit a top in 2021, an inter-year high of about $1.96. Obviously, we did come back down. What he's suggesting here, he's drawn these lines to formulate this channel, is that former support is now new resistance. So you follow those lines all the way up to where we ended up in 2025. So if that is now new support, the theory goes we could get up as high as $48.55 for one XRP. Well, guys, right now, XRP is trading in and around $2.09. As you guys can see, this is the XRP chart on the daily. And it's been seeming kind of indecisive over the last few days. If I throw this on the hourly, you guys can see what I mean. We have been seeing a mixed bag, okay? We've been seeing low liquidity, low price moves over Friday and Saturday. And then we saw these weird swings to the upside, to the downside. We went as low back down to $2.01 yesterday. And then over the wee hours of the morning, we went back up to $2.12. So this is the 1 hour chart, like I mentioned. And I don't know what to make of this, really. XRP is currently following Bitcoin's trend here. As you guys can see, a similar trend for Bitcoin. We didn't see too much activity over Friday, Saturday. And then these wild swings, up, down, up. And now hopefully we do see Bitcoin continue to move to the upside. Currently, one Bitcoin is going for about $91,900 per coin, so just shy of $92,000. Very strange activity on the charts, I gotta say. For more information, though, on where I see the market going, I do have a strategy, I do have a plan. I'm opening up my portfolio, letting all my Patreon subscribers know where I'm going to be selling, my price targets, and where I'm going to be buying the dip. You guys can find all that out at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel for only $5 a month, cheaper than some people pay for one of those fancy lattes at Starbucks. Yeah, and some people buy one of those every single day. So you can join for $5 a month, but you got to subscribe and stay subscribed to lock into that price. Fear and greed, guys, is up a little bit. We're now at 24, so still fearful technically in the crypto space. But guys, the market cap is up by a little bit, up to $3.13 trillion. That's up by almost 3%. And as you guys can see on the board, we are seeing mostly green for these altcoins that have lost steam over the last several weeks. Some of these coins are actually up by double digits once again, like Zcash. Amazing how some of these privacy coins are gaining more momentum over this particular bull run. I'm surprised I did not see that coming on the crypto bingo card. So we are gaining a little bit of steam. Hopefully we can see Bitcoin continue to push forward. Of course, all other cryptocurrencies will follow. Crypto Insight UK says this for XRP holders: if you know, you know. XRP is still one of the strongest charts in cryptocurrency at the moment. Finally, as you guys know, I'm around 90 to 95% XRP, and I know a lot of people out there are really panicking about XRP right now. But guys, if you actually look at the chart structure, you can see it down there. He says, structurally, XRP's chart is probably one of, if not the best in crypto right now after holding 7-year resistance as support for a year. I don't think this is bearish in the slightest. Even during the capitulation on October the 10th, we wicked into previous demand and were immediately bought back up into the range we have been holding aggressively. That is a very, very good sign. So let's just bring up the XRP chart and let's zoom way out just to kind of analyze this. So XRP chart on the daily, and as you guys can see, this former resistance here. I'm just going to bring up the, this always happens. I'm going to bring up the Bitstamp chart, and I've already got former resistance on here. Let's just get rid of that and get rid of some of that in there. And as you guys can see here, this is not actually resistance down in here, but if I were to throw that on there, you guys can see that is closer to former resistance where we saw XRP wick down a few times in the last year or so. So it wicked down into this zone, pretty much pinpointed that. We saw a wick down, then close back up, pinpointed it here. This was a little messy, but we did bounce back fairly quickly. Almost got to that zone there, wick down on October the 10th. And then here we can see some wicks down, holding this support here of about $1.90. When we go way back, you guys can see that was the close for the former localized high from back in 2021. So or not quite the close, but we did wick up into that zone. So XRP technically topped in and around $1.96 at that point in time in 2021. And guys, we're holding up very, very well. He goes on to say this isn't to say that this range will continue to hold forever, but as of now, guys, the range looks fantastic, and so does the XRP chart. It genuinely looks like it is accumulating or reaccumulating for another leg to the upside. And so, this is why guys like Blockbull here are saying if we do see this super cycle, we could get to $48.55 per coin. I mean, it's one theory. Certainly, we do have to, I still think we do have to reach some significant milestones before we can get up to that price. As an aside, I have staked a little bit on Firelight, as he says here. So that is Crypto Insight UK's analysis. Guys, from the perspective of the Korean market, their behavior has not changed. This courtesy of XRP Arthur here, looking at exchanges in XRP holdings only, okay? So exchange reserves on Upbit and BitThumb, two Korean exchanges. Look at where reserves are holding, okay? So this is the first one here. This is Upbit, as you guys can see here. So the price of XRP obviously going down, but exchange reserves going up to 6.23 billion. He says here, XRP holdings are fluctuating significantly, reacting almost simultaneously with price movements. The buying and selling activities of Korean investors are clearly leading the global price direction. All right, now let's take a look at the BitThumb chart. He says here, in a similar pattern, XRP holdings are increasing, as you guys can see up here, up to 1.799 billion. So they're increasing. This is showing that the Korean market is not just participating, but serving as a central axis for actual liquidity. Now, guys, let's take a look at the Binance chart, okay? A very different picture. The exchange reserves are going down on Binance. In contrast, he says the global largest exchange, Binance, shows a continued downward trend in holdings. This is a strong signal that liquidity is shifting to Korean exchanges. In conclusion, Korean traders are not simply trading XRP, but are directly exerting influence on the formation of global XRP price. Data from the Korean market remains a key indicator that the world is watching. So guys, we have to keep our eye on the prize. I mean, if you're Gen Z, maybe you're hoping to get some cryptocurrency for Christmas. Apparently 45% of Gen Z want crypto for Christmas. This courtesy of Mr. B XRP. Listen to this.
All they want for Christmas is crypto. A new survey shows that nearly half of Gen Z wants digital currency as a gift. A report by Visa says that 45% of Gen Zers would be excited to receive crypto for Christmas. That's compared to 28% from older generations. And those are your headlines.
Those are the headlines, guys. Gen Z obviously in tune with what is going to secure their future. They are a generation currently that is pretty apathetic, I guess, maybe as a whole. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking too broadly here. It feels like they've got their eye on the prize. If you're Gen Z, put it down in the comments section. I think Gen Z is my favorite generation. All right, continuing on here. It's terrible when people fail to fail when everybody else is attacking them. Did you guys see this Michael Arrington tweet? Apparently, he tweeted out, "Hey, Brad Garlinghouse, your team is doing an excellent job at failing to F up. Well done." Now he was referring to Token Terminal here and the outstanding supply of RLUSD. Guys, look at how much RLUSD is continuing to be minted. And I believe this is on the Ethereum exchange. Yeah, up here it says Ripple's RLUSD on Ethereum. Sorry, not Ethereum exchange, the EVM. Ethereum continues its climb currently at $1.1 billion in market cap. And as you guys probably remember, this could have been the strategy all along. I don't know if you guys remember this tweet from Dom here. This is how the vampire attack begins, or rather Phil, his brother. Basically, step 1, launch RLUSD on Ethereum. Step 2, get their institutions using it and integrating it. Step 3, show them how much faster and cheaper the XRP ledger is. And then step 4, flip them onto XRP rails. Congrats, you've just successfully executed a multi-billion-dollar vampire attack on Ethereum. 4D chess. So this is, this is exactly what's happening here. And Michael Arrington, I guess in a kind of a sassy way, congratulating Ripple on that. Diana here commenting on Bitnomial and the SEC. The forgotten chapter in XRP's history is resurfacing, and it hits directly at the SEC's credibility. I don't know if you guys knew this, but a few months ago, Chad Steingraber did comment on, this was a tweet thread. He was commenting on this from last year, actually. the the XRP CFTC futures have not been released yet because the SEC stepped in and stopped them, alleging the XRP futures are securities and subject to federal securities law. So this is what happened. The SEC intervened, asserting that XRP futures are security futures subject to federal securities laws. So this came out in October of last year. Bitnomial Exchange sues the SEC, challenging the agency's authority over XRP futures. Well, as you guys know, just the other day, we did get that really positive Bitnomial announcement. But this is essentially what happened. As Chad does comment down here, the SEC is stopping them because Bitnomial is being told that XRP is a security and that it's not registered. And he's got all kinds of documentation to support these claims. If you guys want to read more, I do link everything in the description of the video. So here it is, SEC versus Bitnomial. And the rest is history. I mean, it's lucky for us that we did recently get that positive announcement. Ripple also investing in Bitnomial as well. So very positive news there. I thought I'd just bring you guys some history if you weren't up to snuff on the details there. The SEC was trying to be sneaky, but it was a regulatory trap, says Diana here. Bitnomial was fighting to place XRP under the CFTC, not the SEC. They were one of the first U.S. exchanges to openly challenge the SEC's overreach. The same Bitnomial that confronted the SEC back then is now the exchange that just filed the first ever CFTC-listed XRP USD spot contract. So the rest is history. As they say, wanted to thank Chad Steingraber, Diana, Token Terminal, Michael Arrington, Bill Morgan here, Mr. B, XRP Arthur, XRP Arthur, Crypto Insight UK, and Block Bull for posting those. $450 trillion will flood into assets that can't be printed. Well, we know the Fed's a little shady. We know Jerome Powell is, stepping down, hopefully very soon. But here's an interesting perspective from Lawrence Lepard here, talking about Jerome Powell and the Fed losing control over money printing. Guys, is inflation so out of control that eventually people are not going to have a choice and they will be investing in, tangible assets that are going to go up in price, but also investing in something like cryptocurrency that is going to retain its value as well? Listen to this theory.
Powell is bluffing. He says we're going to get inflation back to 2%. He says we haven't lost control, even though he has. And the market believes him because the forward swaps are at 275 for 5-year inflation. It's bullshit, but people believe him. When things start to break, he will have to change his tune well before the inflation rate is 2%. And everyone's going to go, that's interesting. He really has lost control. He cannot get inflation down. All those guys who've been talking about inflation is inevitable, they are right. And then you're going to see just an enormous movement of capital from other things into our things. There's $450 trillion of fiat in the world. Cash, stocks, and bonds. All of Bitcoin, what is it today? 350 billion, 400 billion? So we're 450 trillion, 400 billion of Bitcoin. Let's call it 6 or 7 trillion of sound money. Bitcoin, gold stocks. Okay. 450 trill of unsound money. Bonds, cash, and stocks. When a quorum of the people come to the conclusion that they can never stop printing and that it is inevitable that they will have to continue to print, they are going to say, please protect my assets in stuff that cannot be printed. All it takes, it doesn't take the whole 450 coming into Bitcoin or gold for us to go way up in price. Even if only 10% of it comes in, that's $45 trillion chasing 7. How much does the value of our stuff have to go up?
So he says even just 10%, 45 trillion. He's not even talking about the full $450 trillion, but 45 trillion. You think about that for a second. Bitcoin is at 1.8 trillion, and even at $45 trillion, guys, let's bring that up there. $45 trillion. Let's divide that by 1.8. That's 25x. And of course, that'll likely be dispersed throughout many different cryptocurrencies. Well, probably only a handful, not every single crypto. But even 25x, you think about that for a second. Bitcoin trading at 91.8 currently, so 91,800 times 25. That'll get a Bitcoin up to $2.2 million. Now, this is over the long term. And again, it's a conservative estimate of only about 10%. All right, so what does that mean if we were to take a proportionate amount for XRP? Okay, if we think 45 billion, but we're assuming that's going to go all into Bitcoin. So let's take the XRP figure here. That is 126 billion. So you compare that to Bitcoin's 1832 right now. And you divide that, actually, we have to divide 126 divided by 1832. Okay, and you multiply that by 100. So that is about, let's call it 7%, 6.8%, but let's call it 7%. So XRP only holds about 7% of the market cap of Bitcoin. Well, if you take 7% of that $45 trillion, let's multiply that by 7%. Guys, we're looking at about 3.15 trillion. Okay, that's only 7%. So now we add that 3.15 trillion onto XRP's market cap. So 3.15, and we add it onto the 185 billion. So it would be plus 0.185. Now we're at 3.33 trillion. Well, then what would the price of XRP be if we're at 3.3 trillion? So so that's million, billion, trillion, roughly, give or take. And you divide that by the circulating supply of XRP, right? 60.33 billion. So 60.33. So that is million, billion. That would equal about $55.25 per XRP, if in fact that were the case. So, I mean, getting up to this $48 XRP in a super cycle makes sense. I mean, I could see this happen over time. I don't think it's happening next year, although I know some people are suggesting that it will. But anyway, wanted to thank Lawrence Lepard here and Bitcoin Teddy for posting that. That is, in fact, if we do see this flood into digital assets, and again, that's only a conservative number of 10%. A possibility for sure. I think smart money is flowing in very soon, guys, and we are already seeing the signs. XRP Arthur here posting this. Ripple just sold 500 million shares at a $40 billion valuation, and some of the big players include Citadel. So this just came out as I was researching. Within a few minutes of me beginning to record, I saw this, and Matthew LNY just brought up some history here. So Ripple announces their $500 million strategic investment. This was all set up from before, but now we finally got the deal solidified. And as you guys can see here, as of 18 minutes ago, Bloomberg did report on this. Wall Street hedged big crypto bet in $500 million Ripple deal. So here we have it, guys. Ripple's $500 million share sale in November drew some of Wall Street's biggest names and marked a milestone in crypto's evolution from fringe asset class to mainstream finance. Investors, including Citadel and Fortress, backed the firm at a $40 billion valuation. But the structure of the deal also highlights the careful approach some institutional investors are taking as they wade deeper into the volatile sector. I want to make note of this, guys. Two of the funds that put in money assess that at least 90% of the company's net asset value derived from a crypto token called XRP, according to people with knowledge of the matter. As of July, Ripple held $124 billion worth of the token, much of it subject to lockups and gradual release, so the escrowed XRP. But we do have this now. Crypto companies, or rather companies looking to get exposure to cryptocurrencies, vying to get a piece of the pie here. The deal spree has given a wider set of investors, from individuals to giant state-backed funds, increased exposure to one of the most volatile asset classes. Several crypto companies went public in 25, from stablecoin issuer Circle to a slew of others. Even the Trump family has now invested in cryptocurrency. So $500 million Ripple deal, guys. As XRP Arthur here says, translation, guaranteed profit, zero risk. Ripple clearly wants top-tier institutions on board before going bigger. So is this a sign that we could see a super cycle? $48 to maybe $55 per XRP. I don't know. Tell me down in the comments what you guys think. But if you want an assessment of where I think XRP is going in the shorter term, I mean, we got to project all time frames, right? Follow me, patreon.com/Working Money Channel. I also want to mention that I have the Working Money Channel merch store, guys. I think we're getting very close to sending XRP to the moon. Check it out. I got an XRP Send It Astronauts men's long sleeve here available for you guys if you're interested. Link is in the description of the video. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.